In this lesson, we are going to talk about types of machine learning. So for your warm-up, you're going to go to your journal, and I want you to think of a skill you commonly use, like speaking, tying your shoes, cooking, or playing a game. How did you learn this skill? Pause the video here so that you can write something down in your journal. So something that I have learned, I know how to play guitar, and the way that I learned how to play guitar was I took a class in high school and my teacher taught me how to play the guitar. So maybe you took private lessons to learn how to play an instrument. Another example is maybe you learned how to do something on your own. Maybe you taught yourself. Sometimes whenever we learn how to speak, since I have a toddler, sometimes we just learn how to speak by just observing and modeling what we see happening. Sometimes, like whenever I learned how to program, I learned through trial and error and by making adjustments based on the mistakes that I made. So maybe you learned how to shoot a free throw based on the mistakes you made when you missed a goal. Those are just some examples, but I hope that through those examples you can see that there are a variety of ways to learn new things as humans. And in this lesson, what we're going to talk about is a little bit more about how computers learn new things and think about how they might be similar or different from how we learn. So our question of the day is, what are different types of machine learning? At this point, if you have not downloaded the activity guides from Schoology, go ahead and do that. For our activity, we want to look at the difference between a mental model and a machine learning model. When we learn something new, we create a mental model in our brain to help represent information and break it down into pieces. For example, when we learn about the solar system, we think of small orbs rotating around each other to represent the planets. Computers do this too. When they learn something new, they create a machine learning model to help represent the information. This model helps them make a decision. What we did in lesson 1 is we helped AI bot develop a model for deciding whether something was a fish or not. So one of our key vocabulary terms is model, and it is a computer program designed to make a decision. We are going to simulate how a computer might create its first model to learn something new. In this example, we don't really know what we're learning yet, much like a young child. We're trying to notice patterns and see what we can discover. So go ahead and get your copy of Types of Machine Learning. If you have not downloaded this, it is in your activity guide. And we're going to go through the different levels, your Types of Machine Learning activity guide, and then you also need, I guess, if you're using a stylus or something to write on your iPad, that is totally fine. You can also just add text boxes and type your responses in. Go to Code Studio, Lesson 2, Level 1, Looking for Patterns. Each box on the screen has 3 numbers in them. You can click and drag each box to move it around the screen. Click and drag the rectangles to group the rectangles together in whatever way makes sense to you. All right, so if you hit run, that's when the numbers show up. So you can see there are 3 numbers. You're just going to group the numbers however you think makes sense, okay? There's not a particular right or wrong answer for this. So just do what seems right to you, okay? Pause the video here and you can go and do that. What patterns did you use to group these boxes? What did you notice? And how did you group your boxes? So each box on the screen has 3 numbers. What strategy did you use to group the boxes together? You're going to put your answer right here. After you click the next button, did your rectangle groups follow any patterns? Okay, well, did you click the next button? I have not. So I will go ahead and group mine, and then we will see what patterns we notice. Okay, so what I decided to do was group mine. Basically, since there were 15 boxes, I just put them in numeric order. So this top row is, I only put the top number in numeric order. So you see there are 3 sets of numbers. So I numerically ordered just the top row, and then I grouped them into 3 rows of 5. So if I hit the next button, do I notice any type of pattern? It looks like most of the pinks are together. Some of the greens are together. I think these are darker than these, so maybe. Okay. Look back at your... After you click the next button, did your rectangle groups follow any patterns? It doesn't really look like they followed much of a pattern other than pinks being on one end and blues and greens being on the other end. So if you notice a pattern, write it down and let's see. We will see what you find. It's okay if you don't notice any patterns. That's totally fine. Some of our key vocabulary for this part of the lesson is unsupervised learning and features. So unsupervised learning is finding patterns in data that doesn't have any labels, which is what we just did. We had these 3 squares and we tried finding patterns. Features are the inputs that a model uses to make decisions. Seeing what the output is really interesting. So just by grouping similar numbers together, we were able to find patterns and create different color groupings. This is an example of unsupervised learning where we were able to learn something using just the data itself. The only thing we paid attention to were the numbers on the squares called the features. So those numbers were the features. This is similar to how online recommendations work. Computers try to find patterns in the items we buy so they can suggest new items for us. Which examples from the warm-up are unsupervised learning? If we were sitting in a classroom, we would discuss this. But since we're not, let's post to our discussion board for Unit 6, and let's put some examples there. Unsupervised learning is one way that computers can learn something new, but this isn't like what we did in Lesson 1. In Lesson 1, we help the computer learn something new by providing examples. This is like when you get older and a coach or a mentor can help teach you something new. In the next level, we're going to try and learn something new with somebody's help. So now you need to go to Code Studio Lesson 2, Level 2, and this is called the green glass door. So look at your instructions on your activity guide. In this game, we're trying to learn what words are allowed through the green glass door. Some words are accepted and others are rejected. Try to determine what words are allowed through the green glass door. Okay? So this is the green glass door. I want you to pause the video and experiment with this bubble 2, this level 2 on Code Studio, and try to answer level 2 green glass door on your activity guide. Pause the video here so that you can do that. I would say if we were in class, we would all play the green glass door for like maybe 5 minutes and try to figure out what the secret is. What words are accepted or rejected, and how did you figure it out? I don't want us to post it on the discussion board because then it'll give away the secret and it won't be as fun for everybody. So on the activity guide, you can put your response for number 3. What's the secret? Which words are accepted or rejected? So you put rejected words on number 1, accepted words on number 2, and then what you think the secret is. Okay. Our key vocab for this portion is supervised learning, and that is when a human trains a model to learn with examples. That's exactly what we did on level bubble 1. Okay. The training is giving examples to a model so it can learn. It is the process of giving examples. Okay. A label is the output you are trying to decide or predict with a model. And so this information is important because you will be training a model and you're going to be using this vocabulary when you're training that model, so you're going to need to know what these things mean. This activity is an example of supervised learning, where we learn something new by looking at examples. The wizard was helping to train us by providing the labels for each words, either accept or reject. After looking at enough examples, we can start to figure out the pattern ourselves. This is similar to the activity we did in lesson 1, or when you're asked to identify streetlights or stop signs from an image, like when we're online, in order to prove we're not a robot, we're helping to train a driverless car by providing more data. So you can also answer this on the discussion board. Which examples from the warm-up are of supervised learning? Pause the video here so you can go answer that. And then for our next activity, on the second page of your activity guide, you have several scenarios. Try to identify which scenarios are like supervised learning and which scenarios are like unsupervised learning. And so what you're going to do, read through the scenarios and then pick which ones are like supervised and give a reason why, and pick the ones that you think are like unsupervised learning and then give a reason why. Okay. Are they supervised or unsupervised? If you see someone playing your favorite song on a piano, after they leave, you sit at the piano and press random notes on the piano until you start to recreate the melody from the song. Okay, that's letter A. Do you think that is supervised or unsupervised? You go to a swim coach who helps you learn how to swim in a pool. You watch them demonstrate basic strokes before practicing on your own. Supervised or unsupervised? The elders in your family, that's the older people, show you how to cook meals from recipes passed down from generation to generation. You read the recipe and watch them cook the meal first before you try making it yourself. Is that supervised or unsupervised? A toddler watches all of the adults in their life walk around the house. Eventually, after a lot of falling and stumbling, they learn to find their balance and start walking. Is that supervised or unsupervised? You know that there are spices in your kitchen, but you're not sure what to do with them. You add little bits of different spices and taste as you go until you settle on a taste that you like. Is that supervised or unsupervised? You study different vocabulary words for science class by creating flashcards. On one side is the word and the other side is the definition. As you study, you gradually start to memorize the term. Is that supervised or unsupervised? So in this lesson, we have seen 2 examples of machine learning and how they can be similar to some of our own learning experiences as humans. In the next lesson, we will have a chance to research examples of machine learning and see how this type of learning can be used to solve problems in the world. So if you have not finished the second portion, page 2 of your learning guide, go ahead and finish that, and we will do our wrap up. Okay. Answered this in your journal under the wrap-up. How are human learning and machine learning similar? How are they different? And at this point of the lesson, can you say 2 different types of machine learning? I hope so. If not, you may need to rewatch this and go back over code.org stuff and go back over the activity guide. So once you get done, you can submit it to Schoology and move on to the next lesson.